Hello, very good afternoon. I'm Muralidhar Ramappa. I'm a cornea specialist, work at Prasad Eye Institute, Hyderabad. We are at Ramayana International Eye Bank. This is one of the largest Asia eye bank, and every year we've been celebrating, this Fortnight, particularly concerning, eye donation program. This is basically a sustained campaign in order to enhance the public awareness at large, dispel any misconception among the people about the organ donation, and thirdly, creating a movement so that people come forward to donate their organs after a death.
Who can be a cornea donor?
Yeah, extremely good question. Anybody can actually donate the cornea. So we do not refuse corneas, although there are certain conditions, medical conditions, wherein those corneas may not be used for a clinical utility, but we certainly use it for a research or a training purpose.
Can a COVID-infected person donate his eyes?
Yeah, this is a very pertinent question, particularly this era. Any person who died of an active COVID or a related complication, we may not be using such a tissues for a clinical utility. Yes, the organ donation is extremely safe even during the era of COVID, as long as we take all the prescribed protocol and precautions.
And is the whole eye removed to get the cornea?
To simplify technically and also logistically, we retrieve only the cornea, that is the front part of the eye. So one thing, it simplifies the retrieval process. Secondly, it gives rise to, we can inoculate that, harvested tissue directly into one of the media, which helps in preserving and also minimize the contamination.
And the donor's family, do they receive any fees or compensation?
No. So organ donation is purely a voluntary act, and it doesn't involve any kind of a commercial aspect into it. So it is ethically, morally incorrect to trade any organs.
So while removing the cornea from the patient, so does it disfigure the face of the person?
No, the disease will not have any disfigurement. It is a simple, removal of the cornea, and we'll put one of the polymer sheet, and which will ensure the aesthetically, the normal face.
And our potential donors before the donation, are they screened for the contagious diseases?
Correct. So all the deceased person, we would in detail go about the cause of death, time to death, and all the factors which led to that. Everything has been, taken into detail. And also the blood sample would be taken. We will ensure that all 6 most commonly communicable transmittable diseases are screened for the blood, including the hepatitis A, B, HIV, rabies, and also syphilis, so that we are extremely safe to our recipients.
And what happens to the corneas which are not used for the surgeries?
Approximately 30% of the cornea which we retrieve may be deemed unsuitable for a clinical utility, mostly because of a poor quality donor tissue, maybe many diseases where a disease has a prior, and in a certain instances they may have a certain infective diseases, something like an hepatitis or an HIV, where that will be used for either for a surgical training in a wet lab or for a research aspect. See, the corneal blindness accounts for nearly 6% of world population. If you look at Indian context, there are about 68 lakh people who have a corneal blindness, at least in one eye, and 10 lakh people have both the eyes are involved, meaning a corneal blindness. This is the third commonest cause for blindness after a cataract and a glaucoma. So every year the demand to, the number of transplantations we perform, there is a huge demand supply gap. So annually we do about 28,000 transplantations alone. And at Prasad Eye Institute, there has been a huge gap between the demand and supply. In India, we perform about 28,000 transplantation every year, and at Prasad, across the network, we perform close to 5,000 transplantations. And at Ramayana International Eye Bank, we retrieve across the network about 11,000 corneas and we transplant totally about 5,000 across the network, and we distribute it accounts to totally 8,000 donations.
And sir, when it comes to the eye donations, if anybody outside they need an eye donation, and when they come to the eye bank here, so is there any waiting period, or directly can they undergo a surgery?
Yes, very nice question. Thankfully, for the last 20 years, we do not have any waiting list or a period for a corneal transplantation at LV Prasad Eye Institute. We have a surplus, good quality tissues.
Okay. And so when it comes to the cornea, does this cornea fit into every person's eye, or there are different sizes, and it takes the sizes for every person?
Yeah, extremely good questions. Conventionally we do something called a full thickness corneal transplantation, wherein entire cornea is replaced, only the central part. And the last 10 years there have been a significant improvement in the surgical techniques that led to selective replacement. We would do the selective disease layer replacement, something like anterior lamellar keratoplasty or a posterior lamellar keratoplasty.
And sir, when after the deceased person, what is the time period to take the cornea from the deceased person?
Right, ideally between 6 to 9 hours. We prefer much earlier in a summer months where environmental temperature is much higher, where bodies tend to petrify, decompose much faster. This also minimize contamination as well. In cases where body has been preserved, we can go up to 24 hours for an organ retrieval.
And any person, if they want to donate eyes, then how can they donate their eyes?
Yeah, they can actually pledge. So there are many institutes. So LV Prasad Eye Institute, Ramayama International Eye Bank, where they can pledge their eyes, and they have to inform, and they would be given an ID card. So immediately after their demise, so one of their custodian can actually call up our eye bank, and we can actually even visit the donor's residence and collect the tissues accordingly.
Will others come to know if they have taken donated eyes from other person?
No, it is strictly confidential. So at no circumstances we would actually divulge the details of a recipient or a donors.
And how can an eyesight be restored?
So the eye donation particularly enable us to restore only people who have a corneal blindness, meaning the loss of corneal transparency due to any cause. It could be trauma, infection, or it could be some hereditary conditions where cornea has failed its transparency. It can be easily restorable using a donor cornea. Right. One message I would like to, I want all people of our country take up this cause as a movement, social movement, and come forward, join our hands, support us, and we all let's pledge, donate our eyes after death. That would enable somebody with a corneal blindness to see again. This has been a noble, gesture, and this would actually help us to keep that, campaign very sustained throughout the year. Thank you.